He had married a billionaire on a dare, and now he was wearing her bathrobe. That was the order in which the facts arrived. Marriage certificate first, on the marble desk between a small silver clock and a half-drunk glass of water. The glass was still ringed with somebody's lipstick. Then the bathrobe, borrowed, hers, the kind of cashmere that weighed more than his jacket. Then the height. The window beside him looked down onto Park Avenue, from a floor he had certainly not walked up to on his own. Then the dare itself, returning to him in pieces from the night before. His cousin Patrick at the bar in Greenwich Village leaning in and saying, "The prettiest woman in the room, Brennan, I dare you." And the laugh that had followed, and the courthouse on Center Street at 1 in the morning, and a notary with a stamp. Caleb Brennan saw the lipstick on the glass before he saw the certificate, which was a courtesy his brain extended to him for about 3 seconds before everything else arrived at once. His phone, somewhere, was making the angry buzz of a phone that had been receiving messages for hours. The bar of soap in the bathroom had been the size of his fist, wrapped in tissue paper, and the tissue paper had a monogram. He could feel his own pulse in his teeth. He picked up the certificate, the way a man picks up a snake whose temperament he has not yet established. State of New York, marriage license number, date stamped the previous day, 2 signatures. His was crooked but unmistakable. He could see, even hung over, where his pen had pushed too hard at the top of the B. Beside his name, in a clean, upright hand that had clearly never been hung over in its life, was the other signature. Margot Eleanor Ashford Wells. Witnesses. Patrick Brennan, his cousin, and a name he did not recognize, that probably belonged to whichever assistant had been pulled in at 3 in the morning. Officiant. A notary at the courthouse on Center Street, whose office never closes for people with the right family attorney on retainer. The bride, according to a TMZ headline he could already see ghosting onto the screen of his phone, was the COO and presumptive heir of a $40 billion hospitality empire. The groom, according to the same headline, was nobody. The marriage was 48 hours old. It was about to be the most watched annulment story in Manhattan, except for one small problem he did not yet understand. The bride had decided, somewhere between 3 in the morning and 7, that she was refusing to file. He set the certificate down. He picked it up again to make sure it had not been a joke that would disappear when he looked away. It had not. He set it down a second time. The door of the suite opened. He turned, and there she was. Cream silk pajamas under a cashmere robe so neat it could have been ironed in the night. Her hair still wet from a shower, a phone in one hand, and a small tray with 2 black coffees and a glass of orange juice in the other. She did not flinch at the sight of him. She closed the door behind her with her hip, set the tray down on the long table that ran along the wall of windows, and looked at him over the rim of her cup. "Good morning," she said. "We are not annulling this." The coffee was extraordinary. That was the first thing his body registered, because his body had not been asked yet what his mind wanted to do. The second thing his body registered was that his hands were trembling very slightly, and the trembling was not from the alcohol. He set the cup down before she could see. "Margot. May." She did not look up from her phone. "Nobody calls me Margot except my mother and the partners at Skadden. You can use May, or you can use Mrs. Brennan if you are feeling unfunny." May. His own name in his throat came out drier than he wanted. "May, you have to know I know exactly what you did," she said. "I was there. So were the 2 of your friends and 1 of mine and 140 other people, half of whom filmed it. There is a video on TMZ that has been viewed 8 million times in the past 4 hours, and the most popular comment on it suggests that I should be the one charged with fraud, since I was clearly the one in possession of my faculties. The video is correct on that last point. You proposed to me, Mr. Brennan. I accepted. I drove us to the courthouse. I have the receipts." He felt the floor straighten itself out beneath him. He had been a Marine. He had been deployed to places that made him fluent in the language of suddenness. None of it had prepared him for a woman in Kashmir talking about a TMZ video like she was reading a quarterly report. I will pay back whatever this cost, he said. Whatever the— Stop. She set the phone on the table face down and looked at him for the first time properly. And the look was direct and clean and slightly tired. Her eyes were grey. He had not noticed last night. He had noticed her laugh, and the particular way she had pushed his sleeve back from his watch, and the way she had said, "Do it then," like she did not believe he would. He had not noticed her eyes. "I am not interested in your money, Mr. Brennan," she said. "I am interested in not annulling this for 90 days. After 90 days, you and I will sit down in a conference room with my attorney, and yours, if you would like one, and we will dissolve this marriage in the manner I will pay for. You will receive a one-time settlement of $2 million, regardless of the outcome of the next 90 days. You will not be asked to do anything illegal, immoral, or sexual. You will sleep in a separate bedroom in this apartment. You will appear at 3 public events with me, 2 professional, 1 family, and you will say nothing to the press except what my office writes for you. In return, you will retain the income, the surname if you want it, and your dignity. I am not your enemy. I am asking for 90 days of your discretion." He looked at her for a long time. She had not moved during the recital. The juice on the tray was the color of late afternoon. Somewhere on Park Avenue an ambulance went past, and the building was so well insulated that he heard the siren only as a thin idea. "Why?" he said. "That is not a question I am answering in this room," she said. "Today, while you are still hungover in my bathrobe. It is a question I am asking." She tipped her head, and for a half-second something in her face moved that did not belong with the rest of her. A small, unguarded thing that lived in the corner of her mouth, and then went away. She picked up her coffee. "Ask me a question I will answer," she said, "and I will answer it. Are you safe?" The question landed without his planning it. She looked at him properly again, and the second look held longer than the first. "Yes," she said. And then, after a small breath, "Mostly." "Then I will give you the 90 days. You have not heard the terms. You have just said them. Separate bedroom, no press, 3 events. I am not stupid, Mrs. Ashford Wells." "May." "May." She set the cup down. She extended her hand across the table, the way a partner at a law firm extends a hand at the end of a closing. He took it. Her palm was warm. The cuff of the cashmere robe had a tiny stitched monogram at the inside of the wrist, a thing he could only see because his head was angled exactly right. And the monogram was an uppercase T in a serif so small it looked like a slip of the needle. "Welcome to Ashford Tower, Mr. Brennan," she said. "There will be clean clothes in the guest dressing room within the hour. My driver will take you home so you can pack a bag. I will need you back here by 6. There is a board meeting at 8 tomorrow morning, and you will be photographed walking in." She let go of his hand. She picked up her phone. She did not leave the room. She stayed at the window with her back to him, and he understood from the angle of her shoulders that the conversation was over, and she would not look at him again until she had to. He drank the juice standing up. He walked out of the suite with the marriage certificate folded once in his back pocket because he could not think of where else to put it. In the elevator down to the lobby, he watched himself in the mirrored wall. Borrowed bathrobe, hair wrecked, the half-formed bruise on his jaw from where he had walked into a doorframe at 4 a.m. The bruise he could not remember getting, and he laughed once, very quietly, because there was nothing else to do with the sound. His phone, when he finally pulled it out at street level, had 87 messages. The first was from his sister Kira, sent at 6 a.m. It read, "Caleb, what the hell?" The second was also from Kira. "Mum is crying." The third was from Patrick. Dude, congrats, King." The fourth was from his boss at the gym. "Need to talk." He put the phone away. He stood on the corner of Park and 67th in a $1,000 bathrobe and a pair of slippers and waited for the town car. It came in 3 minutes. The driver opened the door for him without comment, the way drivers everywhere have learned to handle the morning after. 8 blocks south, in the corner office of Ashford Tower, May stood at her window and watched the same town car pull away from the curb. She had not stayed at the window because she wanted to. She had stayed because if she sat down, she would put her head in her hands, and Renata would come in at 1:30 with the schedule, and Renata would see, and Renata could not see. She turned from the window. She walked through the door of the office, into the private hallway that connected the suite to her own corner of Ashford Tower, and she did not call the elevator. She took the stairs, 12 flights down to her floor. Her shoes were silent on the carpet. At the door to her apartment, she stopped for one count and rested her forehead against the cool of the wood. She did this every morning, briefly, and she did not know what it was for, but she had stopped trying to know. Inside, the apartment was clean and bright and silent in a way that good interior design only achieves when nobody has children. She walked to the kitchen island. She poured herself another coffee she did not need. She ate a piece of toast standing up at the marble, dry, no butter, because butter required a knife and a plate and a small choreography she did not have the patience for at 9:30 in the morning. On a shelf in the living room, between 2 books and a framed copy of the company's founding articles, was a photograph of a boy and a girl, ages roughly 9 and 7, sitting on a porch step. The girl was smiling, without a check first. The boy had a smear of strawberry on his chin and was laughing at something off frame. The photograph had been taken 24 summers ago. The boy in it was Theo. He had died at 17. May did not look at the photograph this morning. She had learned the precise angle she could enter the room without crossing it, and she walked that line now, around the back of the sofa, to the kitchen, the bathroom, the closet, dressed without thinking about what she had put on, and went down to the office at 11 minutes past 10. Her phone, when she finally let herself look at it in the elevator, had 341 notifications, 16 calls from her Aunt Vivian, and 1 from her grandfather's attorney. None from her father. She put the phone in her bag and pressed the button for the executive floor. The doors opened on Renata, holding a tablet, wearing the small frown that meant the next 24 hours had already exploded twice, without May having to be present for either explosion. "Good morning," Renata said. "3 things. Your Aunt Vivian has called a trust board emergency for Thursday at 4. The PR team would like a statement. And there is a young man named Caleb Brennan downstairs in the lobby at 6 tonight, per your calendar, and security has been instructed to expect him. Did I get any of that wrong?" "No." "Are you all right?" "I am very tired." "Yes," Renata said. "I imagine you are." They walked the length of the corridor to May's office in silence. At the office door, Renata stopped and turned. "May." "Yes?" "Whatever this is, you should know the floor is on your side. The board may not be. The family is not. But this floor is. I just wanted you to know that before the day starts." May looked at her for a count of 2. Then she looked at the floor. "Thank you, Renata," she said. "Bring me a glass of water, and keep my aunt's call out of my office until I tell you otherwise." The lobby of Ashford Tower at 6 in the evening was a lake of soft light and Italian marble, and the very specific smell of money that has been money for at least 3 generations. Caleb walked into it in a clean white shirt, a dark blazer his sister had picked out of his closet over the phone, and the same pair of jeans he had been wearing the night he met May, because his sister had stopped at the part of his closet where the jeans were and not gone any further. He had a duffel bag over his shoulder. The duffel bag had the words USMC stenciled on the side in white block letters that had once been crisper. The security guard at the front desk looked at him for 2 seconds and then said, "Mr. Brennan, Mrs. Ashford Wells is expecting you. The elevator to your left, please." He had been called Mr. Brennan exactly 6 times in his life before today. Twice by a teacher in middle school, twice by recruiters, and twice by a doctor. The 7th time had been 4 hours ago, by his own wife. He was not certain how he felt about this. In the elevator, he watched his reflection again, He looked like a man arriving at a job interview he had not applied for and did not want to lose. The bruise on his jaw had darkened. His phone, in his pocket, was on silent. The elevator opened on the private floor, and May was standing at the far end of the foyer, in jeans and a soft grey sweater, holding a folder. She looked at him over the folder, the way she had looked at him in the morning, direct, level, slightly tired. "You came back," she said. "You asked me to." "That is not always the same thing." She held out the folder. "Read this tonight. It is the prenuptial. I had my office draft it at 5 this morning. Sign nothing. Bring it to my attorney tomorrow at noon. Ask any question you want, and he will answer it honestly because he is paid to. After that, we will sit down here at 6, and you and I will work out what we tell the press tomorrow." He took the folder. It was heavier than it should have been. "May." "Yes?" "Why didn't you let them annul this?" She looked at him for a long moment, and then she looked over his shoulder at the elevator doors, which were just closing again on no one. And then she looked back at him. "My grandfather wrote a clause into the family trust when I was 16 years old," she said. "It says that I cannot run Ashford Hospitality unless I am married. He did not write it to be cruel. He wrote it because he believed I would never marry, and he wanted my Aunt Vivian to inherit the company, because Vivian was the one in the family he could see in himself. I have spent the last 10 years telling myself I would marry on my own terms or step aside on my own terms. Yesterday, at 6 in the evening, my aunt filed a notice to invoke the clause, because I am still single and she has the votes. At 11 last night, a stranger with a Bronx accent dared his cousin to ask the prettiest woman in the room to marry him. I said yes, because I was 3 drinks past the hour I should have stopped, and because for a half-second I forgot to be tired, and because, and I am going to say this once and I am not going to repeat it, because you reminded me of somebody." She stopped. She closed her mouth. She did not say whom. "I will not pretend I am marrying you for your sake," she said. "I am asking you to stand in the place a man should stand, in this family, for 90 days, while I take my aunt's votes apart. After that, we will end this cleanly. I owe you the truth on that, and I am paying it now." He looked at the folder in his hand. Then he looked at her. "Ask me a question," he said. "I will answer it." She tipped her head. There it was again, the small, unguarded thing at the corner of her mouth. "How old were you?" she said. "The first time you were told you had to be useful, to be loved." He did not flinch. He had been waiting his whole life for someone to ask that question in some form, and he had never been able to predict who. 8, he said. She nodded once. She did not say anything else. She turned, and he followed her down the hallway to the guest bedroom, which was the size of his entire mother's apartment in Yonkers, and had a stack of clean towels on the bed and a small plate of fruit on the dresser. There was a bottle of water on the nightstand. There was a book by James Baldwin on the desk. The desk lamp had been left on for him. He set his duffel down. He sat on the edge of the bed. He did not open the folder for a long time. He sat with his hands on his knees and watched, through the half-open door, the way the light moved across the wall of the corridor as the building settled into its evening. The next morning, he stood beside her at the door of the boardroom, in a suit her tailor had cut overnight, and walked in 3 steps behind her. The board had 12 people in it. He recognized 4 of them from the Times. The press had been allowed into the gallery upstairs to take precisely 3 photographs, and then escorted out. The photographs would be on the front of page 6 within the hour. He had not slept much. Vivian Ashford was sitting at the far end of the long table, in a charcoal suit, with her hands folded over a closed binder. She was perhaps 58 years old. Her hair was cut to her chin, in a way that suggested she had not changed it in 20 years, and saw no reason to. Her face was composed. Her eyes, when they found May across the room, were not unkind. They were the eyes of a woman who has decided to do something painful, for a reason she has stopped explaining to herself. The meeting opened. The chair read out the agenda. Item 1 was a Q1 revenue update. Item 2 was a hotel acquisition in Lisbon. Item 3 was family trust governance matters. Item 4 was Caleb. Caleb said nothing for 40 minutes. He had been instructed to say nothing. He watched May open her binder, lay her hands flat on the wood, and walk the board through revenue numbers in a voice as level as a still pond. He watched a partner from Skadden across the table track her with a small, careful nod every time she landed a figure. He watched Vivian not move. At item 3, Vivian raised one finger. The chair recognized her. She stood. She did not look at May. I move that the Trust Board invoke Section 7.3 of the founding articles, the Moral Conduct Clause, as it pertains to the Chief Operating Officer of Ashford Hospitality Group. I will be brief. We learned yesterday morning that our CEO presumptive has entered into a marriage of 48 hours standing with a man she did not know 36 hours before the ceremony, in a courtroom in Lower Manhattan in the company of 2 patrons of a bar in Greenwich Village, and that the marriage was the result of a public dare witnessed by approximately 140 people. I am not interested in litigating Mr. Brennan's character. I'm sure he's a fine person. I am interested in the precedent that a $40 billion hospitality empire, built by my father from a single hotel in Saratoga Springs, is now run by an executive whose private decision-making produces TMZ videos. I move that we suspend the requirement of marriage as it pertains to the CEO succession, in light of the manifest failure of the existing requirement to produce a married CEO of any seriousness. And I move that the board appoint, on an interim basis, and pending a full search, the senior member of the founding family with the requisite experience. She did not name herself. She did not have to. May set her binder closed without looking at it. She stood. She walked one step out from the table so that the partners could see her clearly. She did not look at Caleb. She did not look at Vivian. She looked at the chair. My grandfather wrote the marriage clause, she said, because he thought I was reckless. He was right. He was right when I was 16, and he is right now. I am reckless. I have always been reckless about the things I love. I have not been reckless once about this company. The clause was written to discipline me. It has done its work. I am married. I will remain married for the duration of the period the clause specifies. Aunt Vivian, I will not contest your right to bring the moral conduct motion before this board. I will contest the timing of it, and the venue, and the manner of its presentation in a room where my husband is present and has not been afforded counsel. If you would like to bring the motion in 2 weeks, with all parties represented, I will sit across from you in this room and take it on the chin. Until then, I would like the chair to rule the motion out of order today. The chair looked at the general counsel. The general counsel looked at the partner from Skadden. The partner from Skadden lifted one shoulder 1/4 of an inch. Motion ruled out of order on procedural grounds, the chair said. We will revisit in 2 weeks. Item 4. Vivian sat down. She did not look surprised. She had not expected to win the vote today. She had expected to land the punch, and she had landed it. Caleb felt May's hand move at her side. She had unclenched it. He had not known she had clenched it. After the meeting, in the corridor, Vivian stopped beside them. She did not address May. She addressed Caleb. Mr. Brennan. She extended her hand. Her grip was small and dry and cool. Vivian Ashford, my niece's aunt. I assume she has not told you anything useful about this family. We will have lunch on Friday. My assistant will call you. I have something to ask you, and I should like to ask it in person. She walked away. Caleb watched her go. Do not have lunch with her, May said quietly beside him. I'm going to. She looked at him. You think she is going to offer me money, he said. I want to see how much. She did not say anything for a long moment. Then she said, All right. It was the first time she had said all right to him without a stiffness behind it. He noticed the difference. He filed it. The terms of the prenuptial were uncomplicated. He read it twice that night, sitting at the desk in the guest room, with the James Baldwin book open beside it, as if for moral support. The $2 million was unconditional. It did not require him to comply with the press strategy, attend the events, or remain in the apartment. He could walk out tomorrow morning and the money would still hit his account on day 91. He read the clause about the events twice. He thought about his sister. Kira was 26. She was in the third year of an internal medicine residency. She had $140,000 in medical school debt and a fiancé named Daniel, whose first apartment had carpet you could not get the smell out of. She had been the smarter sibling all her life and the one who carried it more lightly, and she had cried twice in his memory, and one of those times had been when their father left and she had been 10. The other had been last year, when she had told him on the phone that she had decided to do internal medicine instead of cardiology, because the residency hours were less brutal, and Daniel needed to start a business, and she did not want to be the kind of fiancé who chose surgery over a relationship. She had said this lightly. He had not been able to say anything for a while. $2 million would clear her debt. $2 million would buy his mother an apartment in a building that had an elevator that worked in summer. $2 million would mean he could keep coaching at the Bronx gym for the next 10 years on no salary and not feel that he was being indulgent. He closed the folder. He thought about May's face when she had said, "Because you reminded me of somebody." He set the folder on the desk, neat, with the cap of his pen aligned with the bottom edge. He turned out the lamp. In the morning, when he came into the kitchen, May was already at the island, holding her phone in one hand and a piece of dry toast in the other. She looked up when he came in. He set down a small plate. On the plate was a piece of peanut butter toast and a glass of orange juice. He had made it because he had noticed, the previous morning, that she had not eaten anything except dry bread. He had noticed because his own mother used to skip breakfast when something difficult was about to happen at her job, and he had learned at 15 that the way to get his mother to eat was to make something so casually that nobody would have to comment on the gesture. He had not thought about it. He had walked into the kitchen, opened the cupboard, found peanut butter, made the toast and brought it over. May looked at the plate. She looked at him. She looked at the plate again. She did not say anything. She picked up the toast and ate it standing up, and the orange juice went with it. He poured himself a coffee and stood across from her at the island, and did not say anything either. The board meeting that morning was in 40 minutes. He was wearing a clean shirt. She had cleaned the apartment of any sign of a witness. No Vivian, no Renata, no driver. Because she had not wanted to be seen eating peanut-buttered toast with a man she had met on a dare. When she finished, she set the plate aside. She rinsed her hands. "Thank you," she said. It was a small thank you, offered the way a person offers it for a thing that mattered more than the thing it appeared to be. "Yes," he said. And then, deliberately, because he had been thinking about it, "No, sorry. Of course." She looked up. He shrugged. "I'm going to try to use yes less. I noticed yesterday I do it all day. People do." For the first time since he had met her, she smiled. It was a small smile, a private one, gone in a breath, and not directed at him so much as at the kitchen island between them. But he caught it. He had been a Marine. He had a working radar for small movements. "Of course," she said. And she did not smile again that morning. But the smile had counted. He met Vivian on Friday at 1 o'clock, at the dining room of a private club on Fifth Avenue, where the napkins were stitched in a way that suggested they had been ironed against the grain on purpose. She was already at the table when he arrived. She had ordered a single glass of red wine, untouched. She did not waste time. "Mr. Brennan," she said, "I will be brief. You did not ask for this situation. You are, by all accounts, a decent young man who made a poor decision after a party. I am prepared to offer you $4 million, payable through an escrow account, in exchange for a signed petition for annulment filed in New York County tomorrow morning. You will keep the proceeds, regardless of my niece's choice to contest. You will be released from the press strategy and from any expectation of attendance at family events. You will be done with us by Monday." He sat with the menu in his hand. He looked at her across the table. "Why?" he said. She lifted her glass. She did not drink from it. She set it back down. Because my niece is not capable of running this company, Mr. Brennan. Not because she is unintelligent. She is the smartest person at my Thanksgiving table. Not because she is uneducated. She has 2 degrees from places I cannot get into. She is incapable because she has been broken since she was 20. She lost her brother. She lost her father in a different way. And she has been managing the company with one hand and her own grief with the other for 10 years. And the marriage clause my father wrote into that trust was his last attempt at giving her a reason to lay the grief down. She has refused to lay it down. She will marry you for 90 days, take my votes apart in committee, win the chair, and run this company into the ground for 15 years, and I will not be alive at the end of it. I am 61 years old. My father built that hotel in Saratoga Springs in 1963. I will not watch his grandchildren mismanage it. I do not enjoy this conversation. I would prefer to be having a different one. But I am the only person in this family willing to act, and I am acting. She lifted her glass again. This time, she drank. He sat for a long time. The dining room was quiet. A waiter approached, and Vivian waved him gently away. No, Caleb said. 5 million. No. Mr. Brennan, I have not yet finished offering. I know you have not. He set the menu down. I am telling you that whatever number is at the bottom of your range, it will not work, because I am not in a transaction with you. I'm in a transaction with your niece. If she wants to end it, she can end it. She knows where the lawyer is. She also knows where I sleep. I'm here to ask you one question, since you have been gracious enough to invite me to a private dining room with a napkin like a triangle. May I? Go on. How long has it been since you held your niece? Vivian did not answer for a long time. She set her glass down very carefully. Her hand, when she withdrew it, was steady, but the steadiness had a different quality than it had had at the start of the conversation. That is not a question you have a right to ask me, Mr. Brennan. I know I do not. He stood up. He did not extend his hand. Thank you for the offer, Mrs. Ashford. I should like to pay for my own water. He set $10 on the table. He walked out. On Fifth Avenue, in the middle of a Friday lunch hour, the air smelled like rain that had not yet started. He did not tell May about the meeting. He had decided in the elevator down from the club that he was not going to. He had not decided why he was not going to. It was something about the small, unguarded thing at the corner of May's mouth, and about the fact that Vivian had said she has been broken since she was 20, and about a photograph he had not yet seen, but had begun, quietly, to be aware existed somewhere in the apartment. He went back to Ashford Tower. He changed clothes. At 3, he went up to the Bronx. The gym smelled the way it always smelled. Sweat and floor cleaner, and the cracked leather of the old heavy bag in the corner. The kids were already running the warm-up. His co-coach Marcus, a heavyweight who had once fought on the undercard at the Garden in 2007 and now drove a school bus and ran youth boxing 4 afternoons a week, nodded at him without comment from the corner. Caleb tied his hands and stood at the long mirror and watched himself. He was 34 pounds heavier than he had been at his Marine weigh-in, and still in the shape his recruiters would have preferred. He looked tired. He looked like a man who had been carrying a folded piece of paper around in his back pocket for 4 days. He shook it out of his head. He went to work. After the session, at the door, Marcus stopped him. Brennan. Yeah? The article. I know. You want to talk? No. All right. He walked home in the dark. The article had come out at 2 in the afternoon. A reporter on a third-tier celebrity site had pulled his old Marine discharge papers, selectively edited, with the dishonorable discharge field left blank, but the field for combat actions highlighted in red, and run a piece headlined, "Heiress's new husband has history of violence overseas." 6 paragraphs. A grainy photograph of him at 23 in uniform. No correction posted. No request for comment from him before publication. He had been honorably discharged. He had not been violent. He had been many things in the desert. The article was a lie. That was technically not a lie, because it was a frame around facts the reader could fill in any way they wanted. He had known the article would come from somewhere. He had not predicted it would come from there. He had predicted the source. The source was Vivian's office. He had no proof. He did not need proof. He came in at 9:30. May was at the island, in pajamas, with her laptop open and her hair pulled back in a small, tired knot. She looked up at him when he came in. She did not look angry. She did not look sad. She looked careful. "You saw," he said. "Yes." He set down his bag. He walked to the sink. He filled a glass of water. He drank it. He set it down. "I was not a violent Marine," he said. "I'm not a violent man. I've never been arrested. The discharge was honorable. The article is a thing somebody dropped to a journalist. I think I know who, but I do not have proof, so I'm not going to name a name. I'm sorry it is going to make tomorrow worse for you. I am here for 90 days. That has not changed." She looked at him. "Caleb." "Yes." "Sit down." He sat down across from her at the island. She closed the laptop. She set her hands on top of it. "I know who dropped the piece," she said. "It was my Aunt Vivian's office. The reporter has been on her family's retainer for 6 years. The phrasing in paragraph 3 is hers. I have read enough internal memos with that cadence to know it in my sleep. I knew within an hour of publication. I did not call you because I did not want you to feel I was managing you. I am not going to manage you. I am going to tell you what I am doing about it. Tomorrow morning, my office is releasing your full, unredacted discharge papers, 4 statements from your former commanding officers, and a transcript of the citation you received in your second deployment, which you did not tell me about, but which my background check found on Wednesday afternoon. By Saturday lunchtime, the article will be a footnote. By Monday, it will be deleted. I am not telling you this so that you will be grateful. I am telling you because you are entitled to know what is being said in your name. Is there anything in those documents you do not want released?" He thought about it for a long time. The citation. The men who were in the citation with him. The afternoon. The piece of the afternoon he did not talk about, and would not talk about, and which he had buried in a part of his brain he visited only at 4 in the morning sometimes. "No," he said. "You are certain?" "Yes." "Caleb?" "Yes." "You are allowed to say no to me." He looked at her. "I know that," he said, and he meant it. The papers came out Saturday at 8. By 9, the original article had been deleted by the publishing site without a correction notice. By 11, the Times had picked up the citation story. By 2 in the afternoon, a clip of May and Caleb walking out of the Park Avenue building, him in jeans and a clean white shirt, her in a long camel coat, both holding takeaway coffee cups, was the most liked image on a popular gossip account, and the comments section had reversed. May did not look at the comments. She did not pretend she had not looked, either. She had sent the photograph to her press team at 8:30 in the morning, deliberately staged. She had not staged the walk. The walk had been Caleb's idea. He had said, at 7, "Let's get coffee at the place on the corner," and she had put on a coat. By Saturday afternoon, Caleb was up at the Bronx gym, in his shorts, with a clipboard. By Saturday afternoon, May was at her desk on the executive floor, building a memo for the Skadden partner about Vivian's procedural exposure under the trust. She was working alone. Renata had been sent home at 4. The building was quiet, in the way only old buildings know how to be quiet. She had not eaten lunch. At 6 o'clock there was a knock at her door. She looked up. Caleb was standing in the doorway, in his coat, with the paper bag. "I am supposed to be at a charity dinner at 7, she said. "You are. I called Renata. I have a tie in my pocket. We will go. I brought you a sandwich." "You called Renata?" "She gave me her cell because she is a generous woman. The sandwich is turkey and avocado. There is a pickle." She looked at the sandwich. She looked at him. The kitchen, the morning, the toast. "All right," she said. She held out her hand. The charity dinner was at the Met. They sat at table 8. The seating chart had been redrawn at 4 in the afternoon by an event coordinator with 20 minutes of warning, because the seating chart had originally had Vivian 3 seats from them, and May's communications director had quietly fixed it. The room was bright. The wine was good. The photographer worked the perimeter, and Caleb learned, by watching May through the first hour, how she held her face when a camera caught her unprepared. A small smile that lived only in the corner of her mouth and never reached her eyes, designed to be photographable from any direction and to give nothing away. He sat beside her. He listened to the partner from Scadden's wife tell him about her son's college applications. He nodded in the right places. He did not drink. He kept his hand, when it was not in use, resting on the table 6 inches from May's hand, which she rested in return at a matching distance. Not close, not far. The geometry of a couple negotiating in public the temperature of their private life. At the end of the dinner, in the coat check, an older woman in a long black gown stopped in front of them. She was perhaps 80. She had silver hair and a brooch shaped like a small bird. "Margot," she said. "Mrs. Hollister. Your grandfather would have liked this young man." May did not say anything. The woman patted May's wrist twice and walked away. Caleb watched May's face. He watched the small movement at the corner of her mouth go away and come back and go away again. He did not say anything either. In the car on the way home, he reached over and took her hand. He did not look at her. She did not look at him. They held hands the length of the drive up Fifth Avenue with the small, unspoken understanding that this was not a gesture for the photographer who had been outside the museum. He let go before the door of the apartment. The morning of day 33, Caleb left the apartment early to go to the gym. May had a 6:30 conference call with Lisbon. She had her coffee on the marble. She had her laptop open. The Lisbon team was running a small fire on the hotel acquisition. She handled it in 22 minutes. She closed the laptop. She stood up. She walked to the shelf in the living room. She picked up the photograph of Theo. She held it in 2 hands. She had not held it in 3 years. She turned it over. On the back, in their mother's handwriting, was a date and 2 names. Theo, 9. Margot, 7. Lake George, July. She set the photograph back on the shelf. She did not cry. She had cried out all her crying years ago, in a hospital corridor at 3 in the morning, with her Aunt Vivian sitting beside her on a plastic chair, holding her hand. Vivian had held her hand for 2 hours. Vivian had not let go. The Vivian who had held her hand at 17 and the Vivian who had leaked the article to a third-tier reporter at 31 were the same woman. May walked to her bedroom and washed her face with cold water. Day 41 was a Thursday. Caleb arrived at the Ashford floor at 3 in the afternoon to drop off a binder May had forgotten on the kitchen island. He took the elevator up. He stepped off into the corridor. The corridor was empty. Renata was at lunch. May was in a meeting. He walked through the foyer toward May's office to leave the binder on her desk. He did not get to the office. He turned the corner toward the staff orientation room, a small, windowless room with a screen and 6 chairs that Ashford used for new hire onboarding. And he saw, through the half-open door, the man and the young woman. The young woman was perhaps 22. She had a name badge clipped to her shirt that read, Adese. She was standing against the wall beside a low filing cabinet. The man was a senior hotel manager Caleb had seen in 2 photographs in the Ashford reception, a Mr. Pellerin who ran the operations of the Manhattan flagship. He was perhaps 50. He had his hand on her shoulder, not on the bone, on the soft part above her bra strap. His thumb was moving in a small circle. He was talking. His face was very close to hers. Her face was the face of a young woman trying to keep her professional composure intact while something is being done to her that she has not consented to and does not know how to interrupt without losing her job. Caleb stood at the door for 2 seconds. Then he knocked on the frame with his knuckles. The man's hand came off her shoulder fast. "Sorry," Caleb said pleasantly. "I'm looking for the COO's office. Could you direct me?" The man looked at him for a long moment. Then he said, "2 doors down on the right." "Thank you. Adese, is it? Pleasure." He walked away. He did not look back. At May's office, he set the binder on her desk. Then he walked back to the elevator and stood in it and rode down to the lobby with his hands in his pockets and his jaw set. He called the Ashford HR line from the lobby. He gave his name. He said, "I am Caleb Brennan, husband of Margot Ashford Wells, and I have just witnessed what I believe to be a serious workplace violation by Mr. Pellerin involving a junior employee named Adese, whose surname I do not have. I would like to file a complaint in writing. I would also like the matter looked into immediately, because the young woman is in his line of supervision, and I am worried about her." He gave his number. He hung up. He stood on the sidewalk for 10 minutes. He did not feel calm. He did not feel angry. He felt the specific cold thing that lived in him, that was the gift of his training, and that he had a complicated relationship with. He went home. He did not call Nay. May called him at 7:30. He was at the apartment, in the kitchen, eating an apple over the sink. "HR forwarded me your complaint at 4:30, she said. Her voice was tight. "I called Pellerin into my office at 5. He denied it. The young woman has not yet been interviewed. I have suspended Pellerin pending the investigation. I would like you to come into my office tomorrow at 9 and walk me through what you saw." "All right." "Caleb?" "Yes." "We will handle this quietly." He set the apple down on the counter. "No," he said. There was a silence. He could hear, very faintly, the sound of her breathing on the other end of the line. "What did you say?" "I said no, May. We will not handle this quietly." "Caleb, I have a hospitality empire to run. I have a board that has been waiting 4 weeks for a reason to call me unfit. I have a press cycle I have just survived. We cannot publicly fire a senior hotel manager this week." "You can. You can publicly fire him this week, and you can publicly fire him today, and you can issue a statement that says we do not protect this conduct, and we never have. If you do not, the next young woman it happens to is somewhere in your buildings tonight, and the one after that is the daughter of somebody you know." He heard her swallow. "You do not know what you are asking." "I know exactly what I am asking. I am asking you to be the kind of company you have spent 10 years telling your investors you already are." She did not say anything for a long time. "All right," she said finally. He set the phone down on the counter. He stood with both hands flat on the marble. He waited for his pulse to come back to him. It came back. He picked up the apple. He finished it. The investigation took 6 days. 4 prior complaints had been filed against Pellerin. 3 of them had been quietly settled by a previous head of HR who had retired in 2023. The settlements had not crossed May's desk because they had been routed through legal as routine personnel matters. By the time the report landed, May had read all 4 prior settlements at her own desk on a Saturday morning, alone, with the door closed. She fired Pellerin publicly the following Tuesday. The press release named the conduct in plain language. It did not name Adese. It named the company's policy and the company's failure to enforce it. It thanked the complainant who had brought the matter forward without naming the complainant. It promised an independent review of every personnel settlement at Ashford Hospitality over the last decade. The release went out at 9 in the morning. By 11, 3 more former employees had contacted HR with similar complaints about other managers. By 3 in the afternoon, an industry publication had run a piece on how rare it was for a private sector firm of Ashford's size to handle a matter of this kind in public. By 5, a small but real number of May's investors had called Renata's line to express, with the studied neutrality of people who have decided not to be the last to back the morally upright option, their support. At 7 that night, May walked into the apartment and set her bag on the floor. Caleb was in the kitchen. He had put a plate of pasta on the island. There was butter on the pasta. There was a piece of fresh bread beside it. "I am tired," she said. "I know." I am also right. Yes, he said. And before. She looked at him over the plate of pasta. He shrugged. You were also right to be afraid, he said. Both can be true. Eat. She ate. They did not talk. The clock on the kitchen wall, an antique brass thing she had inherited from her grandfather's office, ticked slightly behind. When she finished, she set her fork down. Caleb? Yes? Thank you for not telling me to be brave. It would have been a stupid thing to say. Yes. She paused. But people do. I know. She stood up. She walked around the island. She stood beside him for a half-second. Then, she kissed his cheek. Once, light. The kiss of a woman who has not kissed many cheeks in her life, and does not have a casual ritual for it. And she walked out of the kitchen, and down the corridor to her bedroom, and closed the door very softly behind her. He stood at the island for a long time. He cleared the plates. He turned out the light. In the dark hallway, on the way back from the kitchen at 2 in the morning a week later, Caleb saw the light on in the den. The den was a small room at the end of the apartment, lined with books and one framed copy of an old hotel poster from Saratoga Springs. The door was half open. He paused at the entrance. Vivian was sitting in the armchair beside the lamp, in a dark coat that she had not taken off, holding a small photograph frame in both hands. The frame was the size of her palm. Her thumb was moving across the glass of it in a slow circle. She did not look up. She did not know he was there. She had the look of a person who had been sitting in someone else's chair for 30 minutes, alone with a thing she had carried in. Caleb stepped back from the door. He did not breathe loudly. He walked very softly down the hall back to the guest room and closed the door behind him. He did not turn on the light. He sat on the edge of the bed in the dark for a long time. He did not know what he had seen, exactly. He knew he was not going to tell May. He knew he was not going to ask Vivian. The thing he had seen had not been for him. He lay back on the bed without taking his clothes off. He listened to the building settle. After a while he heard, very faintly, the elevator at the far end of the floor close and descend. Vivian had let herself out. He did not sleep until 3. On Saturday morning of week 7, May slept until 9. She had not slept until 9 since she was 19 years old. When she came down the hallway in bare feet, in an army green t-shirt of his she had stolen from the laundry without comment 3 weeks earlier, the kitchen smelled of burning butter and toast slightly past the moment of rescue. Caleb was at the stove. He had a wooden spatula. The French toast in front of him was a complicated negotiation between brown and black. I am making breakfast, he said. It is going badly. I can see. I refuse to be deterred. She crossed the kitchen and stood at the island. She poured coffee for both of them. She watched him over the rim of her cup. He flipped a piece. He grimaced. He flipped another piece. You are not wearing the sneakers, she said. He looked at his feet, which were bare. I have evolved. She set the cup down. I see we have evolved. I am, he said, dropping the spatula in mock seriousness. A man of revolutions. She laughed. It came out of her like a thing she had not used in years, not loud, but real, the kind of laugh that had no check on it. She set her hand on the marble beside her cup as if to brace. What was that? He said. I have not made that noise in a long time. I noticed. He flipped the last piece. He put the plate down between them on the island. He had cut a triangle off the worst piece and put the second worst piece on her side, which he then traded for the slightly better third piece, all of which he watched with a faint, level interest. Sit, he said. I will stand. You will stand. We will eat at the island, like animals. This is what we do. This is what we do. They ate. The French toast was forgivable. The coffee was good. The light moved very slowly across the floor of the kitchen. After a while, she set her fork down. She did not look at him. "Caleb?" "Yes?" "We could keep doing this." He did not move for a moment. Then he set his own fork down. He looked at her across the island. The light caught the side of her face. She did not look back at him directly. She looked at the marble between them, where her thumb was tracing a small, slow circle that she did not seem to know she was making. "I know," he said. He did not push. He did not say, "Let's." He did not say, "Will you?" He had been a man who was useful for a long time, and he had been learning, over the last 7 weeks, that the way to keep this thing, whatever it was, alive, was to not turn it into a task he could perform. She lifted her thumb off the marble. She picked up her cup. "I have a meeting at 4, she said. "Lisbon, again." "I will be at the gym at 3. Marcus is running the 8-year-olds. I am running the 11s. "You are good with them." "I had a good coach when I was 11. His name was Sal. He is dead now. He was a son of a bitch, and he saved my life." She did not say anything else. He cleared the plates. She stood at the island in his t-shirt and her bare feet, and she did not move for a long time. He came back from the gym that evening at 6:30. The apartment was quiet. He set his bag down. He walked to the kitchen. The kitchen island was empty. On the kitchen island was a manila envelope. He recognized the shape from 40 years of his mother bringing manila envelopes home from the post office. He picked it up. There was no name on the front. He opened it. Inside was a photocopy of a marine discharge memo from October 2018. It was his. It had been redacted by someone with a fine black marker, not a government redactor who would use a wide black bar, but someone with patience and a fine point. And the redactions had been made in a way that produced, in cropped sequence, exactly the article that had appeared in the third-tier publications 6 weeks ago. He looked at the photocopy for a long time. He did not need to be told. The handwriting in the corner, a small V.A., July 16th in uppercase serif, was Vivian's. He set the photocopy back in the envelope. He put the envelope on the island. He understood the meaning of the envelope without anyone having to translate it for him. Vivian had left it. Vivian had left it for May. Vivian had left it for him to give to May. He stood at the island for a long time. He understood that Vivian had had to drive herself to the apartment with a manila envelope in her own hand, and that this was Vivian the way Vivian knew how to apologize, and that he was being asked to be the relay. He waited until May came home at 9. She came in, set her bag down, kicked off her shoes by the door. She walked into the kitchen. She saw the envelope on the island. "Caleb?" "Your aunt left it." She came over slowly. She picked it up. She opened it. She looked at the photocopy. She looked at the small V.A., July 16th. She set the photocopy down. She put her hands flat on the marble. "She drove this here herself." "Yes." "She did not call ahead." "No." "She left it for me." "She left it for both of us. She wanted me to see it first. She did not want to be in the room." May did not say anything. She walked to the sink. She filled a glass of water. She drank it. She set it down. She walked back to the island. She picked up the photocopy again. She put it down. "She loved my brother," she said quietly. "Yes." "She was the one who held my hand at the hospital." "Yes." "And she still leaked the piece." "Yes." She nodded once. She did not cry. She picked up the envelope. "I am going to her apartment tomorrow morning at 8, she said. "I am going to take this with me, and I am going to ask her one question, and I am going to listen to her answer, and then I am going to make a decision. Will you come with me?" "Yes." "Will you stay in the lobby?" "Yes." The dark night came 2 days later. It came not because of Vivienne. Vivian had begun, in her stubborn and incomplete way, to soften. May and Vivian had had a 38-minute conversation in Vivian's apartment on Monday morning, at the end of which Vivian had agreed to withdraw the moral conduct motion before the next board meeting. She had not apologized in words. She had said, "I do not know how to do this, Margot." And she had not looked at May when she said it. May had reached across the kitchen table and taken Vivian's hand for 2 seconds. Vivian had let her. The dark night came because of the video. The video surfaced on Wednesday at 4 in the afternoon. It was a phone clip, filmed by an attendee of the original party in Greenwich Village. 9 seconds long, never published before. It showed Caleb at the bar with his cousin Patrick. The audio was clear. Patrick was leaning in. Patrick was saying, "Bro, bro, the COO, the COO. Just walk over there and ask her. You can split it. You can split it." And Caleb, in the clip, was laughing. A loud laugh, his head back, hand on the bar. And he was saying, "Split half her billions. Sure, I will go right over there. I will marry the prettiest woman in the room." The clip ended. 9 seconds. It went up on a popular tabloid social account at 4:15. By 5, it had 11 million views. By 5:30, every commentator who had reversed on him after the Times discharge story had reversed back. By 6, his face on May's arm at the Met was being reclipped, with the bar audio overlaid, set to a song about gold diggers. He was at the apartment when May came home at 6:40. He was at the island. He had not moved in 40 minutes. She set her bag down. She walked into the kitchen. She set her phone face down on the marble. She did not sit down. "May, tell me you have not seen the video." "I have seen it." "Tell me you do not remember saying that." May, I was drunk. We were joking. Patrick says things. I was joking about it. I did not know who you were when I walked up to you. I did not know your last name until 2 hours later." She did not say anything. "May, you laughed." "Yes. I laughed at Patrick. He is an idiot. He is an idiot I love, but he is an idiot. And we joke at the bar, and you laughed." "Yes." She looked at the island for a long moment. The marble was very cold under his hand. "Caleb, you will leave the apartment tonight. You will not pack the duffel. Renata will send your things to your sister's address in the morning. The 2 million will be in escrow on day 91, and you will receive it regardless. You will not contact me. You will not contact Vivian. You will not contact Renata. You will not appear at the Saratoga event next week. If the press asks you, you will say nothing. We will issue a joint statement on Friday. May, leave. May, Caleb, leave. Please leave." He looked at her. He had thought, sometimes in his life, that he had known what fear was. He had been wrong in a small way every time. He understood now, standing at the kitchen island in a clean shirt, that fear was a very small word for the specific cold that came with being unmade in the eyes of one specific person, and not being able to argue your way back. He nodded once. He turned. He walked to the door of the guest room. He opened the duffel. He put one shirt and his razor and the marine discharge folder in it. He left the rest. He came back into the foyer. He stood with the duffel over his shoulder. She had not moved from the kitchen island. "Ask me a question," he said. "I will answer it." She did not turn around. "Ask me one question, May. Any question. I will answer it. I will not lie to you. I have not lied to you. Ask me anything." She did not turn. He stood in the foyer for a long count of 3. Then he walked out. The elevator came. He rode it down. The lobby was empty. The doorman did not look up from his desk. The street outside was raining. He walked west. He walked all the way to Columbus Avenue, and then up Columbus, and then he got on a bus going north, because he did not want to be on a train where people would film him. He sat in the back of the bus with his bag on his lap. He watched out the window. The rain on the glass shifted shape. At Kira's apartment at 8, Kira opened the door before he knocked. She had been at the peephole. She did not say anything. She stepped aside. He came in. "Caleb," she said. Then she did not say anything else. She sat down on the couch. She patted the cushion beside her. He sat down. He put his head in his hands. "Tell me she did not believe it," Kira said. He could not answer. He did not cry. He had not cried since he was 8 years old, in the front passenger seat of his mother's Buick, the night his father had not come home. And he had decided then that crying would not bring his father back, and that since it was useless, he would not do it. He had kept the rule. He sat with his head in his hands on Kira's couch for 40 minutes. Kira sat beside him and did not say a word. After a while, she stood up, went into the kitchen, made tea, brought it back, set it on the coffee table beside him. He did not drink it. He went to bed at midnight in her spare room. He did not sleep. May did not sleep either. She stood at the kitchen island until 10. She made herself a cup of coffee she did not drink. She walked to the living room. She stopped at the shelf with the photograph of Theo. She picked it up. She held it. She set it down. The thing inside her was not new. It had been inside her for 14 years. It was the specific certainty that everyone she let close would be revealed, eventually, to have been performing. That Theo had been the only honest person she had ever known, and that her father had stopped speaking to her 2 months after Theo's funeral because she had asked him one question he had not been able to answer, and that the rest of her life had been a series of relationships she had measured for performance because performance was the only thing she could see. She had let Caleb in. She had not believed she was letting him in. She had thought she was hiring him. The video had told her she was right. The video had said, he laughed. He said the words. He did the math. He performed at a bar for his friends. He performed at the Met for the cameras. He performed in your kitchen with French toast. He has been performing the whole time. The video had landed on the lie inside her like a hammer on a peg, and the peg had gone all the way in. She stood at the shelf in her living room at 11 and said to herself, out loud, in a flat, clean voice, "Maybe Caleb really did marry me for the $500 million. Maybe everything he has done in this apartment for 48 days has been the long game." She listened to herself say it. She did not flinch. She nodded once at her own reflection in the dark window. She went to bed. She did not sleep. For 2 days, she did not come out of the apartment. She told Renata she was working from home. She drafted 4 memos. She approved a contract for the Lisbon acquisition. She did not eat anything except coffee and 1 piece of dry bread and a single piece of fruit she could not later remember picking up. On Friday morning, Renata called. Renata said, "May, there is a woman at reception named Linda Brennan. She says she is Caleb's mother. She would like to speak to you. She's been here for an hour. She will not leave." May sat on the edge of her bed for a long count. She had her phone in her hand. She did not know why she lifted it to her ear in the first place. "Send her up," she said. Linda Brennan came up in a coat that had been a good coat in 1998, and was still recognizably one. She was perhaps 58 years old. She had Caleb's eyes, and the soft jaw of a woman who had laughed easily once, and had stopped laughing easily. She walked into the foyer with her hands clasped in front of her, like she was at a funeral, and not certain whether she was the family. "Mrs. Ashford Wells," she said. "Margot. May. I will not stay. I came to tell you one thing. My son will not call you because he will not. He will not show up in your lobby because that is not how he was raised. He will not answer the press because he never will. I have raised him to remove himself from rooms in which he is not wanted, and he has spent his whole life learning to be small in those rooms, and he is very good at it. I am here to tell you that he is not performing. He has never performed in his life. He could not perform if you paid him. I do not say this because I want you to take him back. I say this because I've been at his apartment for 2 days, and he has not slept, and he will not. And you should know that. That is all. Thank you for hearing me. She turned to leave. Mrs. Brennan? Linda stopped. She did not turn. Yes. How old was he the first time you told him he had to be useful to be loved? Linda Brennan stood very still in the foyer of the Ashford apartment for a count of 5. Then she nodded, the smallest nod. The nod of a woman saying yes to a question she had not been asked in 21 years. He was 8, she said. My husband had just left. I did not know how to do it. I said a thing to a child I should not have said to a child. He has carried it for 21 years. Thank you. Take care of yourself, Margot. Linda walked out. May stood in the foyer. She did not move for a long time. She called the Scadden partner from her office at 3. She did not ask his opinion. She told him what she wanted to do. He told her she could not. She told him she could. He told her the cost. She listened to him recite the cost in detail. She thanked him. She hung up. She called Vivian, Aunt Vivian. I am surrendering my proxy on the trust board. Effective Monday. The clause is yours. The chair is yours. I am stepping aside as COO at the next board meeting. I will continue as a member of the operating committee at a salary I will set with HR. I am calling you to tell you because I am not blindsiding you. I am also calling to tell you that this is not capitulation. This is choice. I am choosing the part of my life that has been outside this building. I am letting go of the part that has been inside it. My grandfather built one hotel in Saratoga Springs. I do not need to die holding the rest of them. Vivian did not answer for a long time. Then Vivian said, Margot, are you all right? Mostly. Where are you going? I am going to Yonkers. I do not know what I am going to do when I get there. I will keep you informed. Please do not tell the press. Margot, Aunt Vivian, I am asking you to be the woman who held my hand at 17 for 1 more hour. All right. She hung up. She took the car to Penn Station. She got on a train. She did not take her phone out of her bag. She watched out the window. The Hudson moved past on the right. The reeds along the bank moved in the small wind. At Yonkers, she got out. She took a cab to a corner she had pulled from a property database 2 weeks earlier. A corner she had not visited and had not told anyone she had pulled. The cab stopped in front of a low building with a faded sign. Bronx Avenue Boxing Club, the sign said. Established 1971. She got out. She walked to the door. The door was open. She walked in. The gym was loud. The 11-year-olds were running drills in pairs. The 8-year-olds were jumping rope. Marcus was at the far end of the gym, in shorts, with a clipboard, watching a pair of girls work the heavy bag. Caleb was in the near corner, on his knees, talking to a kid in a sweatshirt that had once been red. He had not seen her come in. She stood at the door for a moment. She had not planned what she would say. She walked across the gym. The kids did not look up. 2 adults at the far wall looked up. One of them was Marcus, who lifted his chin half an inch and did not stop them. She crossed the gym. She stopped 6 feet from Caleb. He was tying a kid's hand wraps. He finished the second wrap. He patted the kid's shoulder. The kid jogged off to the bag. Caleb looked up. He saw her. He did not stand. He stayed on one knee. Her coat was wet. Her hair was wet at the ends. She was holding a small folder in one hand and her grandfather's signet ring in the other. The ring was the size of a dime. The folder had a green tab. Caleb. Yes. I'm sorry. He did not say anything. I am sorry that I let a person who works at a third-tier celebrity site decide what kind of man you were, when I had 48 days of breakfast at a kitchen island telling me the opposite. I am sorry I did not turn around when you asked me to ask a question. I am sorry that the LIE inside me was louder than the data inside the apartment. I am sorry that I let you walk to a bus stop in the rain. I am sorry that I let my mother-in-law be the person who came to find me. I am very sorry. I have been wrong. I am not asking you to take me back. I am asking you to let me say the thing I should have said in the foyer." He looked at her. He did not say anything. "I surrendered my proxy on the trust board this afternoon. I told my aunt I would step aside as COO at the next board meeting. I'm giving the company to her because I've been holding it for the wrong reason for 10 years. I should have given it up at 21. I should have given it up at 25. I did not. I let my grandfather's clause run my life because it was easier than telling myself what I actually wanted. The clause is gone. The company is hurt. The marriage clause does not apply to her because the clause applies only to me. I am free of the clause, and so are you. I came up here to tell you that, and to put one thing in front of you, and to leave." She knelt down. She set the signet ring on the canvas of the boxing mat between them. The ring landed with a small, flat sound. The 11-year-olds at the heavy bag did not notice. Marcus, at the far end, was looking very deliberately at his clipboard. "If you pick this up," May said, "it means we choose what comes next. If you do not pick it up, I will sit on the bench by the door for an hour, and then I will go home and never come back to this gym again. Either way, I am done deciding for you. I love you. I should have said that in the foyer. I am saying it on a boxing mat in the Bronx, in front of a child who is jumping rope. I would like the record to reflect that I do not have a flair for the dramatic." He looked at the ring on the canvas for a long time. Then he picked it up. He stood. He held it out to her in his open palm. He did not put it on his finger. "I am going to coach the rest of this session," he said. "It is 23 more minutes. We are doing jab combinations. I would like you to come over there with me and help. Andre is having trouble with his elbow alignment on the second jab. You can pick up an elbow." "Caleb." "Yes?" "I do not know how to coach a jab combination." "Andre will tell you what he needs. He is 10. He is very clear." She looked at him. She wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. He had not seen her cry. He had not been sure she could. She had not been sure either. "All right," she said. She took her coat off. She set it on the bench by the door, next to her bag. She walked across the gym. She knelt down beside Andre. Andre was 10 years old and had a red sweatshirt and a small, thin face, and an elbow that was, in fact, drifting wide on his second jab. "Hi," she said. "Hi," Andre said. "Caleb says your elbow is drifting wide. Can you show me?" Andre showed her. She watched. She nodded. "Tuck it in towards your ribs," she said, "like this." She made the motion against her own side. Andre copied. The elbow came in. The jab was cleaner. Andre threw the second jab. The elbow stayed. "Better," May said. "Cool," Andre said. She stood up. She walked across the gym. She came back to Caleb. He was watching her. Marcus, at the clipboard, was looking very deliberately at the floor. "He had a wide elbow," she said to Caleb. "I know. I have been working on it for 3 weeks. It is fixed." "I see that." "I'm going to drink some water," she said, "and then I'm coming back." She walked to the cooler by the door. She got a paper cup. She filled it. She drank. She did not put her coat back on. She stood at the cooler with the cup in her hand for half a minute and watched him across the gym. And she watched the way he watched the children. And she watched the way Marcus watched him. And she watched the way the building made room for the 3 of them. She came back. 3 months later, on a Saturday morning in early March, the small kitchen of a brownstone in Park Slope smelled of coffee and slightly too dark French toast. The light came in through a side window at an angle that, for a half hour around 8, set the curtains on fire and then settled. The marriage certificate from the courthouse on Center Street was framed and hung above the kitchen island. The frame was simple. The certificate was crooked. Nay was at the island in bare feet, in an army green t-shirt, with a coffee in her hand. She was reading the Saturday Times at the marble. Caleb was at the stove. He had a wooden spatula. He had improved. "This is a better piece," she said. "What?" "The French toast." "Yes." "You have evolved." "I am," he said, "a man of revolutions." She laughed. It came out of her loose and real, and the small, unguarded thing at the corner of her mouth did not go away when it landed. He set the plate down between them on the island. 2 pieces of French toast, maple syrup in a small jug she had inherited from her grandmother, and that he had brought up from the box marked May Kitchen 3 weeks earlier. 2 mismatched coffee mugs. The signet ring was on a chain around her neck, just inside the collar of the t-shirt. The ring was warm against her skin in the morning, and she had stopped noticing it most days. The kitchen clock, the brass one from her grandfather's office, ticked softly behind them. "Saturday breakfast at the gym at 10, he said. "Marcus is bringing eggs. I have the bread. You have the bananas." She picked up her fork. She looked at him across the island. He looked at her. They did not say anything. The light moved. "I am glad," she said quietly. "We did not annul this." He smiled. It was a small smile, a private one, and he did not say yes, because he was a man who had been learning, for months now, the other ways. "Me too," he said. Outside on the brownstone steps, a neighbor's dog barked at a pigeon and lost. A child laughed somewhere down the block. The light caught the edge of the certificate above the island, and held it, and stayed.